Hello. We are Factory Floor Wars. My name is Taylor Tillett. This is Sanford Chang, John Roberts, and Mayo. Sorry, I still can't pronounce your last name. So, our toy is a competitive gear table. So the story behind this is you and your twin brother have been working on this super invention for years and years, and finally when it's done, he wants to take control of it for himself. So you need to race him across the factory floor to connect your gear to the end to power the machine. So, go to the next. Does somebody want to do this? So this is a rendering of the toy. So what Factory Floor Wars is it's kind of a competitive board game that involves gears as pieces. Another aspect that we wanted to add to it initially was stacking the gears to add a 3D element to it. And we also wanted to add a endgame mechanism that kind of gave a surprise event for the winner once the game ended. So our early iterations of this game, we were kind of thinking of making just like a board game that you just put gears on there. It's kind of like a sandbox game, but we came to find that there's other toys out there that are like this. So we decided to add the competitive aspect to it to differentiate ourselves from that. And adding the endgame mechanism was something to make it more, even more special and add more surprise to it. So some of our early pieces that we thought of making, we didn't want to just have basic gears all the way across. So we have kind of 4 early gears here. We have the basic gear, which are kind of like these. They're short, kind of normal sized. We've got what we call the big boy, which is double the size or a little bit bigger than double the size. We have these double stacked that can kind of stack it up 3-dimensionally or to the next level. And we had an idea for a sweeper gear that would knock other gears off. We just ended up not doing that though. So for our endgame mechanism, we wanted to add kind of a surprise to the end. So if any of you are familiar with the game Perfection, which is a game that you press down the board and after a timer goes, it pops up. So we wanted to kind of do something similar to that, and hopefully the gears would, fly off, and the kids would be like, really surprised. Unfortunately, the springs that we have, not powerful enough for that, but that's something that we would look to improve over time. So the endgame mechanism is essentially made of 3 kind of parts: springs for the board to help push it up. There's a winding mechanism that's connected to these 2 endgame gears that has a string that will pull back the hook, which is in a slot. And we wanted to make this easy to reload. So we put a slant on the hooks so that you could just press down and they would reset themselves for the next game.
There's a video for this actually going up. So note kind of the hook attachment as time goes by. It's kind of a quick snap. We might need to give it some time to load. All right, yeah. So we could probably play it again. Do I just hit this? Yeah. So as we spin the top gears, that's going to trigger the slider, and once it slides over the other one, it will pop.
It's meant to be, you should know when you've finished the game. So once you've connected from your start to your end gear, and you're twisting your start gear, hopefully the end gear will drive this mechanism and the board will pop up, so that'll be like a snap out of it. You know you won the game.
I'll be doing a demo at the end of this. So as he said, we kind of want to focus on the competitive part. So other than these standard gear you see, we kind of leveled them out. They didn't come out as tall as we wanted to, so we kind of have to stick 2 and even 3. And then this is the original 1. So it's kind of small difference. You can't really notice, but with the laser printed part, it's a huge difference. And 3 is the only way we could get it to drive the second one. The stacking part didn't work so well because we have these acrylic ones, which were laser printed, and these are the SLA printed ones. We had some issue with the pulling, so some of the holes you can probably see in one of these, blank and tall. There's nothing over here. They got covered up. So the stacking didn't come out as well as we wanted, but the video that we're going to show will be able to demonstrate that. So here's some of our endgame gear. Other than the standard, like I said, there's all these special gears. The ones you see over here is the one that we have printed through the 3D printer. There's the big boy on the top right, and our standard gear originally we were going to print with the laser printer too, but we ran out of material, so that's why we ended up going with the acrylic, and they don't have the holes. I actually think the holes look a lot nicer, and we were trying to save material with that, so you can see some of the different or weird holes we were trying to put. And I kind of forgot to explain this. It's a blank gear. This is for the standard gear to ride on top for the stacking idea. Ideally, we can go up to 3 before it tilts, but we also don't want to add too much weight from the acrylic, so that'll kind of go in when we're talking about our fabrication, because that adds a lot of weight to our table. And with all these different gears, we can kind of touch up on the rules. So you can probably imagine with the stacking the gears, sometimes they lock up, and sometimes they jam while they're trying to level over. So a lot of thoughts and time were spent modeling this gear and doing this climbing over mechanism. And here is a video. You can see, I think it was the red side that we're trying to climb over. And if you go back to that video, we can play that. Yeah, and you'll see only one side is able to spin as it goes. Might need some time to load.
Very slow.
Yeah. Is it going? Yeah. Oh. I guess I got to hit it. So yeah, it's turning really slow, but no, only the red side is spinning. So ideally, once we connect to the other side, you can drive the mechanism, even with all these gears in the middle.
Could be independent of each other.
All right, can you go to the next slide, please? So other ideas we had that we weren't able to print, due to weird properties of materials and other constraints. So we're able to model them, but we don't have them physically here today. One of them is a belt. So if you have 2 level, you can kind of offset them and kind of do like a climb over. But again, it's also limited by the 3 layers. Once you go over 3 layers, they'll kind of just get wobbly with the stem. And there's a couple more ideas during our design iteration. Was you can see the top right is this linkage idea. We'll have bearings on linkages, and they'll be able to drive remotely. So that's one of the solutions we had, overcoming jamming. And then there's terrain right in the middle. That's kind of an expandable idea if you want. If we have more than 1 board, you can kind of climb over to another board, and you can make the game 4-player. You can make it 8 players. It's down to where you want to market it. And sweeper, lastly, Taylor kind of mentioned it. You just remove other guys' obstacle. So let's move on to fabrication. The fabrication of this guy, it's turned out a lot heavier than we thought. So one's due to the acrylic. The acrylic we first bought was a lot lighter, but they weren't able to be laser machined because of chlorine inside. So we ended up going with this heavier guy, and you can see this guy is about, I would say, 10 pounds. It's quite a workout just to bring it over here. So we had some of the, you can see the tolerance issue as well, but here it is. It's fully functional. This morning, when we're trying to replace it, because of these laser part and we have very limited material, we have made them really, really thin. And with all these holes, after 5 or 6 times snapping this morning, it kind of snapped. We've put reinforcement on it, so hopefully when we get onto the demo, it'll be able to snap and come out, and you guys will be able to see it. Okay, yeah, I'm done. And then, so we're gonna go ahead and do the demo. If it doesn't work, we have some videos and we can show. It's only 5 seconds long. So, John.
Yeah, you should be able to go from your starting gear. Let's say this would be the red player who won first. So ideally, you'd want to use the starting gear to turn this, which is gonna pull a string, which is gonna release the mechanism. But friction and other issues, it's not going to work right now.
Okay,
so instead, we'll just spin the endgame gear.
And you can hear the pop. So we probably should have set it down, and you can see it come up. We had intended to have it come completely out, but like I said, the weight's really just not helping it. We can show you on one of the video.
How does it operate as a game? I'm still not clear.
Oh,
It's a competition. So, there's a red player and a green player,
Right.
and you're supposed to cross the floor and connect to your
We take
endgame
turns
gear.
putting gears
Yeah,
in?
that's makes sense.
Okay.
So you're supposed to cross the floor, connect to your endgame gear before your opponent, and the idea is you want to try to jam them up while going over them or somehow getting to your destination.
Have you tested how many different ways you can do that?
There's a ton.
yeah, that's part where we got stuck
Yeah.
on during
I
manufacturing.
really like this idea, especially for kids. It really makes them think what they're doing and strategize.
Yeah, one of the plans that we had before was to make the board a lot bigger, so there are so many multiple ways you can go on it. And but we realized that with the constraints that we have, we couldn't really do that, and we had to reduce the size. Also, for a future design, we'll probably reduce the size of the gears too, and the distances between the gears, in order to create more holes and make it possible for multiple designs. And let's see, one more. Then one other future design that we'll probably have to other modification we'll have to do to make this better is reduce the weight of all the top things, because what happens right now is that the hook, there's a lot of force on the hook which is holding it downwards, and that creates a problem when trying to slide it off of each other.
So your concept has a lot of potential, and I would say that the power in your product is the power of play. It empowers the user to do a lot with it. And while it's a prototype and it's completely understandable that it's heavy and so forth, have you guys practiced with it? Have you played with it? Have you actually, is it a speed game? Is it you pick and you get to pick gears one by some kind of random component? I mean, you have a lot going on, and also you also have that component where you could kind of screw over your opponent by going back to his and jamming his motor. So I think with your presentation, you should tune it more to talk about the game and the rules and how it would play out, because your system is great, but it's the play part that is the selling point. So you want to compel people, this is how we play, and move forward. But it's a cool concept.
And we kind of broke it playing yesterday, and it was kind of late at night. If you want to look at it later, we kind of just put brackets over it. So right now it's really snappy.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with everything that was just said. I think that I love strategy games. Strategy board games are my favorite. So I wrote down a whole bunch here that I thought it reminded me of, and it's a combination of those. And innovation comes at the combination or reconfiguration of prior ideas. So I think that you guys are onto something. I actually don't have a question at all. I just have a comment. Going off of the play idea is if you had cards or something, maybe that worked in with it, where you didn't get to pick which ones you put down, but you had to use specific cogs, or you got to take one off of your opponent's, any one that you wanted or something. I think that would strengthen the play aspect of the game.
Yeah, I thought about maybe using dice to kind of decide.
Yeah, so I wrote down
Something-
dice or cards.
Yeah,
That's fine.
the cards is a good idea too.
Otherwise, you might know it so well that you just grab for the pieces initially and keep your brother and sister away from those pieces. And
right.
But so you've thought about a random component to it?
Kinda, but we just didn't have enough time with building it and stuff.
Next time, if you're going to come up with a play one, just take pieces and simulate the play, and then make the pieces work towards it. Play first, and then get a concept of how it would unravel.
Just work backwards.
Exactly, backwards design it, and then you'll know what you need.